Hello, my name is Chrissy Champagne, and you are listening to Residue, a true crime podcast dedicated to keeping you paranoid. It is almost that time of year when a parent is sending their child off to college for the first time to live on their own and explore life on their own. It's not only scary for the student or the teenager that's leaving, but it's also scary for the parents because we're letting go of our children. And what we would hope is that when we let go and when we let them explore the world on their own, that they are safe, that their friends are keeping them safe, that their campus is keeping them safe. And you would hope to God that their romantic partner is also keeping them safe. This is the story of Alexandra Kogut, the beautiful and lovely 18-year-old girl who was away at SUNY Brockport for the first time, experiencing the life of a college freshman. A mother knows when something is not right, when something is off, or when their child is in danger. They can sense when something is harming their child. This is called a mother's intuition, and it's a feeling that a mom gets when she gets that feeling that something is going to go wrong. She gets this feeling before her child even gets this feeling. And some scientists believe that this is because our bodies literally carry that DNA of our child even after pregnancy. Becky Kogut was awakened from a dream in the middle of the night. She popped up in bed and she thought, something's wrong with my daughter. Her daughter was 18-year-old Alexandra Kogut, who went by Alex. Alex was away at college for the first time at SUNY Brockport. SUNY Brockport was located in Brockport, New York, and Alex was actually from New Hartford, New York. The college campus was about 2 hours and 30 minutes away from New Hartford, New York. So Becky has this gut feeling that she needs to talk to Alex right away. So she's calling Alex's cell phone. There is no answer, which was, of course, unusual for Alex. But Alex had a special weekend planned that weekend. She had her boyfriend, her high school love, 21-year-old Clayton Whittemore. He was visiting the campus that weekend because he actually still lived in New Hartford and was attending the community college there. So he didn't really get to see Alex that much. They had been dating since high school. Now, Clayton was a bit older than Alex, but he was in love with her, and he was also very close to Alex's family. So Becky is, of course, also calling Clayton's phone. She just wants to hear from Alex. She just wants to hear her voice so that she can go back to sleep and relax. She's calling Alex's roommate. She's calling Alex's friends. Nothing is happening. No one knows where Alex is. So Becky actually calls the SUNY Brockport campus police, and she asks them to please go and do a welfare check on her daughter, Alex. Becky immediately called the campus police after having a strange phone call with Clayton, because after a couple of minutes of trying everyone, it's about 1 a.m, and Becky calls Clayton, and he actually picks up this time. She said that he sounded really strange, completely out of it, different than he usually sounds. She could tell something was off in his voice and something was weird. She said to Clayton, "Is Alex with you?" And Clayton answered her in a very monotone voice. He said, "Yes, she is asleep. I'll let her know that you called." And he hung up. Any other day, Becky would never suspect Clayton of anything. I mean, even before Clayton drove to Brockport to see Alex, he made a pit stop at Alex's mother's home. He made a pit stop at the Kogut home, and Becky Kogut even gave him money, gas money, to go and see their daughter. They also gave Clayton a care package to give to Alex. Now, Becky adored Clayton. Her whole family did. I mean, this was Alex's high school sweetheart. So there would have been no reason for Becky to think that something was wrong and that Clayton was to blame. But something in Clayton's voice really threw her off, and she knew and trusted her gut. And the campus police at SUNY Brockport immediately went over to Alex's dorm room. Alex lived in that dorm room with another girl named Kelly Stevens. So the campus police are knocking on the door. There is no answer. So they enter the room, and it is a sight that would forever haunt that campus police officer. He would walk into that room to find a badly beaten body just laying in the middle of the floor, covered in blood. The body was so badly beaten that the face was unrecognizable, and the police officer immediately contacts someone for help to get an ambulance there, to get police officers there on the scene. The room is covered in blood splatter. There is blood on the walls, on the floor, blood on the bed, on the pillowcases, and they can't identify this body. They're not actually sure if this is Alex Kogut or if this is her roommate, Kelly Stevens. Alex and Kelly looked almost identical. They were both blonde, they were both beautiful, both the same height, so it was a little difficult when police arrived on the scene to figure out what was going on, what had happened. They see pictures of Alex, of Kelly on the walls, and they realize both girls are blondes and this person has brown hair. So they are under the assumption that they don't know who this is. This could have been anybody. So they're trying to get a hold of Alex, of Kelly, and of Clayton. As police are trying to put the pieces together to figure out what is going on and who this is, the roommate, Kelly Stevens, shows up at the police department and tells them that she last saw Alex the day before. So Kelly, being an amazing roommate, was like, "Hey, Alex, I'll go sleep at my friend's house off campus so that you and Clayton can enjoy a romantic weekend together." So now the police know that Kelly Stevens is okay. This has to be Alexandra Kogut, but if it is, where's Clayton? Police want to know more about Alex and Clayton. What were they like? And friends and family start to tell them that they were high school sweethearts. Alex was 18. She was a swimmer. She was on the swim team in high school and also at SUNY Brockport. She was the all-American girl. She was popular, beautiful, and friends say she was always fun to be around. They also say that guys loved Alex, and Clayton loved Alex. Even though he was a little bit older, he was 21 years old, he was her high school sweetheart. They had been dating since they were in the 11th grade. Well, Alex was in the 11th grade, not Clayton. Clayton was already out of school. So Clayton was in community college in New Hartford, and he was a star hockey player. They were the two popular athletes that everyone adored, and everyone said that Clayton was a pretty confident and popular guy. Friends would tell the police that Clayton and Alex used to Facebook each other a lot, tweet each other a lot. They were always on social media, back and forth, writing adorably cute messages to each other. Tweets like, "I miss you already, can't wait to see you again," when Clayton would leave the campus. And everyone said that they seemed like a really happy couple, that Alex was just stoked that Clayton was coming for the weekend, and she wanted this to be a passionate, romantic weekend, and she just wanted to be alone with Clayton. So police immediately go to both Clayton and Alex's social media profiles, and they start searching for some clues. What they find is that Alex wrote one final tweet, and this tweet just read, "Should have known." That was it. That was the last thing Alex ever wrote. And now police are like, what does that mean? Police are able to retrace the events of the evening by just looking at Alex's text and looking at social media. And what they find is that Alex and Clayton had decided to go to dinner. So when Clayton arrived, they were going to get dressed up and get fancy and go out to a really romantic dinner. But when Clayton did arrive, Alex found out last minute that she would have to stay a little bit later for her swim team meeting. She texted Clayton and he was totally fine with it. He said, no worries, and he waited for Alex to finish her meeting. And when she did, Kelly says that she left the two alone in the bedroom of the dorm and she said goodbye, have a great weekend, and that they were lovey and kissy and everything seemed perfect. Through interviews, through text, through social media, police are now realizing that Alex and Clayton did go to dinner together. And Alex wanted to go to a campus party right after dinner. She was kind of begging Clayton, like, come on, let's just go hang out with my friends for a little bit. I'll introduce you to everybody. Clayton just wanted to go back to the dorm room and be alone with his girlfriend, but he gave in and he told Alex, yeah, let's go to your friend's party. Party guests say that Alex was having a great time. She was dancing, she was socializing, she was drinking. Clayton was also drinking, but Clayton kind of stayed off in the corner by himself. And finally, the two decide to leave, but it seems as though they are not in the best moods. They are a little tipsy and they are arguing. So the two are arguing and they're walking down the street on campus, and a campus police officer actually walks up to both of them and is like, hey, you, Clayton, you cannot have an open container on campus right now. Clayton is holding a beer as they walk. The officer said that he even tried to make a couple jokes towards Alex to make sure she was okay, and she seemed to laugh and smile back. So he thought, maybe these are just two teenagers arguing. They're a little drunk. I'll let it go. Everything should be fine. He ends up writing a citation for Clayton, and Clayton's pissed. The officer says that as he left the couple, Alex walked on one side of the street and Clayton walked on the other side of the street. So at this point, these two are headed back to Alex's dorm room, but they are not in a good mood. Police still cannot find Clayton at this time, but they are getting some more info from some of the people that lived in the dorm room. Now, there was a girl that lived next door to Alex's dorm room, and she said that around midnight, she was in her dorm room and she heard what she thought was maybe sex. The girl says that the noises were unusual. She'd never heard anything like it, but she didn't really worry because she knew that Alex had her boyfriend over, and she just kind of chalked it up as these two having sex. She described it as thumping sounds. It is now 2:30 a.m. on September 29th, 2012, and police are going to receive a call from a man that says he is the father of Clayton Whittemore. He tells police that his son called him earlier that evening and made a chilling request. He said, "Can I borrow a gun?" The dad says he has never asked me for a gun before. He has never called me. He has never said anything like that before when he called me. And the father of Clayton Whittemore says, I believe that Clayton wanted to kill himself. So officers are now on the lookout for Clayton Whittemore. But they don't have to look very far because Clayton is now going to turn himself in and call 911. He calls 911 from a DeWitt, New York rest area, and he is about 100 miles away from the Brockport campus right now. Police tell him to wait there, and they will be there soon. Police will bring Clayton in for questioning, and they say that when he was in the interrogation room, he stayed pretty calm, and he told them his side of the story. Clayton says that the relationship with Alex was far from perfect, and they began having troubles once Alex went away to college because Clayton was insecure and jealous, saying that Alex was busy all the time. Clayton just felt like there was too much distance between them now. She had all these new friends. She had all these new guy friends. He told a story about the first time that he visited her at college. He could tell that something had just changed between them. And Clayton was a jealous guy. Alex needed to study. She needed to hang out with her new friends. And when Clayton was visiting one weekend, she told him, "You're going to have to leave. You can't stay the whole weekend because I have to study. I am very busy." And that made Clayton feel like Alex was just way more into her new life than into him anymore. He said that he felt like Alex was slipping away and he was threatened by this new life, saying she was always busy. He was really jealous of her male friends because guys loved Alex. Everyone loved Alex. And this ended up leading to a ton of arguments between the couple. Clayton says the arguments were constant. He says that when they went to dinner that night, he apologized to Alex for being jealous because recently he had met a friend of hers on campus, and this was a male friend, and Clayton thought maybe the male friend was being a bit flirty with Alex, and so that threatened him. He was threatened by that. And they had argued about this male friend over the weeks as Clayton was at home and Alex was on campus. One night, Alex had to study, and she didn't call Clayton at their typical time. She called him a little later, and they were FaceTiming or Skyping. And Clayton noticed that this male friend was leaving the bedroom and saying, "Bye, Alex, see you next time." Of course, Clayton throws a fit. And they fought until the weekend that Clayton was coming to visit. So he tells police that while they were at dinner, he apologized for being so jealous. Clayton then tells police what they already knew, that he didn't want to go to a party, but Alex did, so they went to the party. Clayton tells them that Alex was the life of the party. He was getting bored, he was getting upset, and he felt disrespected. He said that he was hanging on to Alex's phone, and a text came through, and the text read, "Checking in to make sure you're okay." And this text was from that guy that they had been arguing about for weeks. So in Clayton's mind, this is confirming his fears. There was another text from the same guy that read, "Glad we could do it before he got here." Now, Clayton is going to take that text as glad we could do it, that Alex was having a sexual relationship with this guy. But from all of the friends' accounts, they say that this was because they threw a birthday party before Clayton got there. So the text meant glad we could throw the birthday party before he got here. Now, keep in mind, everything is in Clayton's words. Alex isn't in this interrogation room to defend herself and tell the truth if Clayton's words are wrong. Clayton is telling the police that he's pissed off. He wants to confront Alex about this. Now they're fighting, they're arguing. He says that she starts hitting him and that Alex is the first to start the physical fight. And at the same time, she's taunting him and she's pushing Clayton, and she's saying that she doesn't care anymore. She doesn't want to do this anymore. He said that Alex tells him that she hates him. She kept pushing and pushing Clayton, and he didn't want to get into a physical confrontation. So he tells police that he left. And he also adds in a little jab saying, "I bet Alex was with another man after I left." Of course, police are not gonna believe this bullshit. So they even start searching now through Clayton's car. They start searching through his text messages, his tweets. Police are now going to see a clearer picture of Clayton's mind frame, not only for that night, but for months before this murder happened. They see a ton of arguing about cheating, but it's not about Alex cheating. It's about Clayton cheating. That's right. Clayton's been the cheater this whole time. Police start to believe that the couple had been fighting because of Clayton's infidelity. The police uncover voicemails that reveal that Clayton had been verbally abusive. Some of the voicemails he was heard saying, "Don't waste my fucking time, you stupid bitch. I'm gonna kill you when I fucking see you." And this was right before he's going to visit her. With the evidence stacked against him, Clayton is finally just going to reveal, "I just snapped. I hit her. I blacked out." He has no recollection of anything that happened that night. He says after he blacked out, he saw blood. She wasn't moving, but something was concerning in the way that she was breathing. Clayton says that in disbelief, he sits back down on the bed and he just watches his girlfriend gasp for air. And he says that she's sucking in wind. She's making weird noises. He says it was like watching an animal suffer. He tells the police that this is when he decided that he needed to put her out of her misery. He says he kneeled over her, and then he took a clothing iron which was sitting near Alex, and he smashed it into Alex's head about 4 times. He then tells the police, "I killed the girl that I love. Nothing will undo what I've done. I've become my father and worse," is what Clayton says. Clayton will be arrested, and while on trial, his defense attorney is going to say that Clayton had been abused as a child by his father. They're going to say that Clayton's father abused the whole family, and Clayton had PTSD. His emotional distress at the time while arguing with Alex was what caused him to snap. So they're going to blame it on the fact that Clayton didn't have the greatest childhood growing up. When police found that text that said, "Nothing will undo what I've done. I've become my father and worse," this text was going to be the defense's strategy. They were going to say that he just snapped and he became his father. But the prosecution is going to say, was this text just a calculated move to help the defense? What was the intent? I mean, they know that he's guilty of murder, but why? During the trial, the jury is going to find out that not only did Clayton abuse physically and verbally Alex, he also physically and verbally abused an ex-girlfriend from high school before Alex. This ex-girlfriend will testify that he attacked her as well. He grabbed her neck during an argument. Another detail that comes to light during the trial is that Clayton didn't just call his father that night after he murdered his girlfriend. He also called a friend, a coworker, a female coworker, and he told this girl that he had done something really bad. He told her that he killed his girlfriend. And she didn't believe him at first, but she testifies that this is what Clayton said to her. The defense is going to argue this was blind rage, and the prosecution is going to argue no, he made a choice that night. Clayton made a choice. Clayton took a time out, sat his little ass down on that bed, watched his girlfriend suffer like an animal in his own words, and instead of picking up the phone and calling 911, instead of running into the halls and screaming for help, instead of coming to his senses, Clayton makes a choice right then and there to murder his girlfriend and then run away and call his daddy. District Attorney Sandra Dorley is going to say that this was one of the most brutal and violent murders I have ever seen in my career. She said, "You know, the more I do this, the more personal these cases become for me. I really felt connected to this victim, and I needed her voice in the courtroom, and I needed to fight for Alex, and I did." During closing statements, attorney Sandra Dorley would say, Kogut texted a friend around 12:19 a.m. saying, "Clay and I are in a fight. Ha ha ha. I don't think we're going back out." During testimony, it would also be revealed that Clayton Whittemore beat Alexandra Kogut with his fist, with a Traffle coffee mug, an Old Spice can. Then he strangled her. Then he stabbed her with pens and pencils with such force that the tips broke off. And then, when Alex's breathing became labored, he picked up a clothing iron and beat her in her face until she was dead. Then he cleaned himself up and he drove away. Clayton Whittemore was convicted of second-degree murder in May 2014 for fatally beating his 18-year-old girlfriend, Alexandra Kogut. Clayton would receive the maximum sentence of 25 years to life in prison. At his sentencing, Clayton would address the court and say, "I never intended any of this. I think about it every day, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to make up for it." Alexandra's mother, Becky Kogut, would end up confronting Clayton's father, Scott Whittemore. She would tell Scott Whittemore to turn himself into the police for the abuse he caused his family. She said that she was the only one that was going to stand up for what happened to Clayton when he was little. "This was my way of making up for the people who didn't stand up for you." This grieving mother says this to Clayton Whittemore. She is telling him, as he stands just feet away, that she is taking a stand for him because nobody else did when he was a little kid. Becky Kogut would go on to say, "Clayton killed the wrong person. Clayton should have murdered those people who did nothing to help Clayton." Paige Whitney, a friend of Alex Kogut, said that the end of this trial was bittersweet. She says, "Yes, justice has been served, but this does not bring my friend back." And in the aftermath of all of this, Paige Whitney's mother, Sandra Whitney, founded the Purple Pinky Charitable Foundation in Alexandra Kogut's honor, and this foundation is set in place to help raise awareness about dating violence. District Attorney Sandra Doorley said, "I think this case strikes at the heart of domestic violence. These were adolescents just beginning their dating life, and it shows that anyone can be a victim. We need to send the message to our sons and daughters that they have to be aware in their relationships and be able to stand up for themselves." Thank you so much for joining me again on this week's episode of Residue. I hope to see you all back here again next week. I appreciate you all so much. If you enjoy Residue, it would be really awesome if you could share the episodes or the post on my Instagram, my Facebook, my TikTok with your friends. You can find me on Instagram at Residue Podcast, on TikTok at Residue Podcast, on Facebook at Residue, a true crime podcast. And if you had some time to leave a 5-star review, well, that would just make my day. And I think I might just start reading those 5-star reviews on the episodes every week. I'll also send you a little thank you note and some stickers from Residue. Until next time, stay safe and stay paranoid.